Okay, let's do a review on the 1970 World Series champion Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles 108 and 54 in 1970 beat the Reds in the World Series. Let's get going. Let's get started with the offense. The 1-2 hitters pretty much set in stone every day. Don Buford led off. Paul Blair hit second. Let's take a look at their on base chance numbers. You see those numbers both check out well above average for your 1-2 hitters, so that's looking pretty good. Now let's take a look at the heart of the order, the 3, 4, 5 guys. Let's take a look at Boog Powell, Frank Robinson, and Brooks Robinson. Now, the one thing with the Strat-O-Matic book that comes with the Diamond Gem set, they have Brooks Robinson, that is, as hitting six against right-handed pitching. But let me go ahead and show you the numbers for these three. Anyways, I'm going to show you their hits with multiple base advancement. You see, you get pretty decent numbers out of all three. Of course, all these numbers can go up a little bit depending on ballpark effect, hits and home runs. The one thing about ballpark effects for Baltimore in 1970, it is pretty favorable for right-handed hitters. The ballpark effect singles on a D20 is a 1 to 10, so you got a 50-50 chance there, and the ballpark effect home run for a right-handed hitter on the D20 is a 1 to 12. So, and for a left-handed hitter, a home run on the D20 is only 1 to 3. So the park definitely favors right-handed hitting. I do wish the numbers were a little bit higher against right-handed pitching. You could see all of their numbers right there. So the numbers just check out as just okay for the middle of the order guys. Now, let me show you the catcher platoon. You had a platoon here where you had Andy Etchebarren playing catcher against left-handed pitching and against right-handed pitching. You had Elrod Hendricks, and you see their hits with multiple base advancement. So you're definitely better off when you face a right-handed pitcher and you have Hendricks in the lineup. And according to the Strat-O-Matic book, you had Hendricks in the lineup hitting fifth against right-handed pitching, and Brooks Robinson, as I said before, hits sixth in the order. Let me go ahead and show you the second baseman, Davey Johnson. Now, just to give you an idea where he was in the lineup against left-handed pitching, he would hit six, and against right-handed pitching, he would hit seven. So basically anywhere 6 or 7 in the lineup. And I'm going to go ahead and show you all of Davey Johnson's numbers, and you can see these are very productive numbers out of a guy who hits towards the bottom of your order, especially really like his number against left-handed pitching. His numbers against right-handed pitching is still representable for a guy who hit either sixth or seventh in the order. So those are really nice numbers to see out of Davey Johnson, your second baseman. Now, let me go ahead and show you some numbers for a guy who is not listed in the regular lineup. Um, but this is a really nice option, especially if you're sitting down to play a game with a friend and you're playing with the DH. Um, I would strongly suggest finding a way to get Merv Rentman into your lineup. Now, Rentman isn't one of those Stratomatic specials where you have a guy who only played a month and has like a killer Stratomatic card. He did have almost 400 at bats in 1970s, although he is not listed in the regular lineup anywhere. Let me go ahead and show you all of his offensive numbers, his on base chances, and his hits with multiple base advancement. You can see you get really, really solid production out of him. So if you are sitting down and playing a game and you're playing with the DH, I strongly suggest putting Rentman into your lineup. Just remember 1970 obviously predates the implementation of the designated hitter. So if we were to look at the 1970 Baltimore Orioles offense as a whole, I grade them out as a very good offense. I gave them a solid score of a 4 out of 5, and I graded them a 4 out of 5 in all categories. I do really like the numbers you get out of Buford and Blair at the top of your order. The numbers for hits with multiple base advancement by base runners out of Powell, Frank Robinson, and Brooks Robinson, I wish they were a little bit higher, but I gave them a 4 out of 5 based on the strength of what you get, not only out of the 3, 4, 5 guys, but what you get out of 6 and 7, especially when you have Elrod Hendrick starting against right-handed pitching. Remember, he was a lefty hitter, so he started against right-handed pitching, and he was actually the number 5 guy in the lineup. So that checked out really good. And the righty-lefty mix, again, I came out at a score of 4 out of 5. So the 1970 Orioles offense grades out at a very good 4 out of 5. Now let's take a look at the defense. As always, we'll get started up the middle with Davey Johnson and Mark Belanger. Nothing to complain about here. If you got two twos in your middle infield defense, you're looking really, really good. So I gave that a perfect score of a 5 out of 5. Let's look at the outfield defense, left to right. Every day you were looking at Buford, Blair, and Frank Robinson. Nothing to balk at right here. So that's going to grade out very well. As we look at the E ratings on the team, um, once again, I got no complaints anywhere. You look at the outfield E ratings, I graded that as a perfect 5 out of 5. You're very good at third base, obviously, with Brooks Robinson. Powell's number, his E rating at first base is right on the edge. I don't like going any higher than that. So I would say you're just okay at first base, above average, but not great either. The overall E rating score came out to a 4.3 out of 5. So the 1970 Orioles overall defensive score comes out at a very, very good 4.6 out of 5. This is an excellent defensive team that you have with the 1970 Orioles. So far, so good out of the 1970 Birds. They get a 4 out of 5 on offense and a 4.6 out of 5 with the defense. Now, let's move ahead and take a look at the starting rotation. Let's get started with the ace, Mike Cuellar. You see his on base chance numbers right there. Both those numbers check out really nice. Just a little bit of a slight power issue. There are some ballpark effect home runs on his card against left-handed batters, which could be a little bit concerning. So we'll get into that with how it affected the score later on. But let's go ahead and show you the starting rotation depth. Let me go ahead and show you the numbers for Dave McNally, Jim Palmer, and Tom Phoebus. You see all of their on base chance numbers right there. All of those numbers, once again, check out pretty good. Phoebus's numbers against left-handed hitters is a little bit high. Also, just another critique on his card, kind of similar to Mike Cuellar. He too has a little bit of a power issue facing left-handed hitters. As we look at the 1970 Baltimore Orioles starting rotation, I gave the ace Mike Cuellar a very good score of a 4 out of 5. I could not give him a 5 out of 5 because I had to bring him down just a little bit because there is a little bit of a power issue when he faces left-handed hitters. But I gave the starting rotation depth a perfect score of a 5 out of 5. Because basically what you have with McNally and Palmer, you have two extra aces in your starting rotation. And Phoebus's card is good enough for a number 4 starter. And let's face it, if you're sitting down to play a best of 5 or a best of 7 with a friend, you're going Cuellar, McNally, and Palmer anyway. But if you were to go ahead and play a full season, you could get very good numbers out of Phoebus as your number 4 starter. So I went ahead and gave the starting rotation depth a perfect score of a 5 out of 5. So the Baltimore Orioles 1970 starting rotation comes out to a very, very good score of a 4.5 out of 5, as well it should be. That this really was a terrific starting rotation for the Orioles in 1970. Now let's take a look at the bullpen. This was a situation where I kind of had to do something that I never really ran into this situation before since I started doing these videos of breaking teams down. The 1970 Orioles really did not have a designated closer in the bullpen. You had Eddie Watt and Pete Reichert basically split the duties. Both of them split the closing duties, as each of them have 12 saves in 1970. So I'm going to go ahead and show you both of their numbers right now. And you could see their on base chance numbers are pretty good, good numbers, especially out of Richard. Um, the only issue with him is he has a little bit of a power issue when he faces left-handed batters. So as I look at the two closers who basically split the duty, I'm not particularly crazy about these cards, and I'll get into their grade a little bit later. But there is one wild card in the Orioles bullpen, which I'm going to talk to you about right now. The two guys who I'm going to hit on now are Dick Hall and Marcelino Lopez. Now, Dick Hall has a very representative card. You get solid numbers out of him. Lopez, who is a lefty, I'm going to go ahead and show you his numbers right now. You could see you get really, really nice numbers out of him, especially when he faces left-handed batters. What I really like about his card is that he keeps the ball in the ballpark. So this is actually another example where I go ahead and I grade the team based on the team tendencies, like lineup tendencies, and effectively what their depth chart is according to the Strat-O-Matic book that comes out with the Diamond Gem set. But if you're playing with this team, I would make a very strong suggestion as just using Lopez as your closer, because I believe he has the best card in the Orioles bullpen. So this is going to be one of those examples where the grade that I give them does not necessarily reflect how the team plays. Because if you use Lopez as your closer, you're going to be really solid in that position. But as I look at the team and I look at the team tendencies according to the Strat-O-Matic book, I have to look at Watt and Richard as the closers. So as I look at the 1970 Orioles bullpen, I gave them a overall score of a 3.5 out of 5, as I gave the two aces in this situation a 3 out of 5, and I gave the bullpen depth a very good score of a 4 out of 5. So the Orioles 1970 bullpen comes out at a above average score of a 3.5 out of 5. So if we're to look at the 1970 Orioles as a whole, you're going to see that they grade out as a 4.2 out of 5, which is a very, very good score. It is not easy with my ranking system to score above a 4. And anyone who saw my last video would know that the 1976 Reds were the highest score that I've given out as a 4.6 out of 5. And the Baltimore Orioles from 1970, they are only one of 6 teams to hit the 4.2 mark, as I go ahead and show you the other teams that I've done videos on that have hit that mark. So this is definitely one of the better Strat-O-Matic teams that I've come across. It's just the only issue is it's a little bit weak in the bullpen according to the team tendencies in the Strat-O-Matic book. However, if you're sitting down and playing with this team, let's face it, the 1970 Orioles relied on Cuellar, McNally, and Palmer. And most games that you're going to play with them, you are going to try to get 9 innings out of them. And you can kind of play around with the bullpen based on my suggestion as using Lopez as your closer. So even though they grade out as a 4.2 out of 5, this is one of those examples of where if you play your cards right and you deviate from the Strat-O-Matic book, this is a team that can play a lot better than the actual grade that I gave them. Because once again, and I hate to repeat myself, but I'll say it once again, I do my grades based on what the team tendencies are. Like, for example, what the lineup is in the Strat-O-Matic book that comes out with the Diamond Gem set. And then I look at the team and I say, okay, well, this guy was a closer. This guy was a setup guy. But if you sit down to play with him, you choose to do what you want. That's the great thing about playing with Strat-O-Matic. You could use anyone basically in any role, so long as they have relief on their card. So that's my grade on the 1970 world champion Baltimore Orioles. A very, very good score of a 4.2 out of 5. This is an excellent team, and it is a really hard team to beat, especially with the starting rotation that they throw at you. Anytime you got to sit down and play a best of 7 against them, and you got to face Cuellar, Palmer, and McNally, well, good luck trying to beat that. So that's my video on the 1970 Baltimore Orioles. Hope you enjoyed it. I thank you all for watching, and my next video will be on the 1977 World Series champion New York Yankees. Have a good day, everyone.